Hi, this is Reverend Dale Brown, and this is our Ted 14th podcast together. Is that what you were saying to me? So Ted, thank you for all that you do. Ted, or as Carrie calls him, Theodore, is a wonderful guy, and his wife Arlene is a wonderful part of the life of this church, and thank you guys for all that you do. It's Holy Week of 2022. And in the next few minutes, I'd like to walk with you through Holy Week, because this podcast will actually be released on Holy Thursday. So let's share together what will happen in the life of Jesus this week. And I'll begin by saying to you that I invite you to Community Church at Ocean Pines, because it's a wonderful place of worship. And it's not just because I'm the pastor. Actually, it's more because God is present here. I believe that with all my heart. And there are some of the best people in the whole world here. It is just a pleasure to be the pastor here. And these folks are wonderful, and I invite you to become a part of them. The Holy Thursday service is at 6 p.m. The Good Friday service is from 12 until 3, personal prayer and the sacrament of Holy Communion. That's when we think we believe that Christ was on the cross during that time. 6 p.m. on Good Friday is the Good Friday service, and we'll remove all the decorations from the altar area and from the church to mimic a tomb in which Jesus will be placed. Nothing on Saturday. Saturday is a vigil. It's a free day. We ask you to use it to get ready for Easter. Excuse me, my allergies are bad this week, so excuse me. And on Easter Sunday, a 6:30 sunrise service in the park, and then worship at 8, 9:15, and 10:30 in the sanctuary, where we'll celebrate the power and the wonder of Easter. So let's kind of real quickly walk through this week in the life of Jesus. On Holy Thursday, which when I was growing up we always called Maunday, Maunday, Thursday, we will worship at 6, and we'll remember these 3 events in the life of Jesus. First, his message that he is instituting, giving to us a new commandment, a mandatum, a rule to live by, hence the term Maunday, Thursday. And that new commandment is that we are to love one another even as God has first loved us. And so we're thankful for the love of God. We're thankful for the opportunity to love one another. And we display that love both in word, and in action. So even at the very end of his life, as death is approaching, the cross looms large in Jesus' life, we're told to love. The second event on Holy Thursday that happens in the life of Jesus that I'd like to highlight with you is his foot washing. I grew up going to, on occasion, a Mennonite church in Westover, and I went to a Mennonite college, and the Peace churches historically have something called a foot washing service. I told my congregation on Sunday morning here at Community Church, we as Methodists have kind of tried to clean it up a little bit, and we have a hand washing service, but it's not the same, and it's not nearly as good. The foot washing that Jesus does is that he takes off all his outer garments, and he dresses himself as a slave, and he washes the feet of all who are present, the women, the disciples, the crowd, everybody together there in the upper room. And he does that reminding us that we're called to be servants. That in the end, the faith is not about getting what we want. It's about being like and serving Christ and others. It's a model for us, an acted out parable of how we are to live and who we are to be. So I say that to you because it's a reminder that Jesus came as the servant of all, and he also mentioned over and over again that the greatest of all is the servant of all. And the third thing I would say to you from Holy Thursday is the arrest of Jesus. The Roman soldiers and others came to arrest Jesus, and Judas is there, and Judas kisses Jesus, and the signal was the one whom Judas gave a kiss to was Jesus, the Messiah, and the power is so great that those who have come to arrest him will actually fall backwards. But Jesus goes with them willingly and chooses to go. And then on Good Friday, Jesus is scourged and crucified. Now there are some wonderful characters in this story in terms of what happens with them. Judas, of course, betrays Jesus for 30 pieces of silver, and he's remorseful, I think. And he wants to give the money back, and he wants to maybe force Jesus' hand, because we think Judas might have been a zealot, and zealots wanted to overtake Rome and regain independence. And there's a lot of question, but Judas in the end hangs himself. And then there's Peter, who says, "I'll never deny you, Jesus," and 3 times he denies him, each time a little more using more vulgar speech and declaring he doesn't know this Jesus. And then the cock crows, and Peter is aware of his having failed Jesus. On Good Friday, we believe between the hours of 12 and 3 p.m., Jesus is on the cross. Those perhaps are the most sacred hours in the history of the world. They are wonderful hours in the sense that the one who was without sin is dying for all of us who have sinned over and over and over again. And whether our sins are sins of omission, are things that we've committed commission, they can be cleansed through the blood, through the death of Jesus. We can be made right with God. And so on Good Friday, Jesus dies. Isaiah prophesies that they don't have to break his legs and that no bones are broken. He's already dead when they come to the cross. He's not faking it. This is not a coma. This is real death. Death on the cross of Calvary. And he's buried in the borrowed tomb of Joseph of Arimathea. Joseph appears 3 times in the Gospels, and each of them he is increasingly growing in his faith until in the end, the last one, he's identified as a follower, a disciple of Jesus, much like Nicodemus is. Good Friday is the most difficult, most devastating day of the life of Jesus. Many years ago, I'm not even sure, Ted, how many years ago now, the movie The Passion of the Christ came out. And I don't like violence. I'm not a violent person. I want to live at peace with as many people as I can. And I determined I really didn't want to watch it, but then I would watch it for a little bit. And I think I made it through about 5, maybe 10 minutes of what was happening to Jesus, and then I had to turn the channel. I had to watch something else. Jesus is physically, spiritually, emotionally, personally alone. Isolated from his friends, from the disciples, even from God. You know, the shout, the cry from the cross on Friday is, my God, why have you forsaken me?" He dies there on the cross, literally alone, for you and me. I can never fathom nor understand such love. And on Saturday, there's an in-between time. I encourage you to practice what's called an Easter Vigil. To somehow on Saturday spend time in prayer. Maybe to watch and wait by reading the scriptures. maybe by a time of silent prayer and meditation, but to wait with Jesus as he's in that borrowed tomb, dead and wrapped in the grave cloths. And then the wonder of Easter. Easter is so cool. I love Easter. Easter is the day when Christ is risen from the dead and lives forever. And he lives because he has defeated all that would come against us. He has taken upon us all our sins, upon himself all our sins, and he has defeated everything that would destroy us, even death itself. Ted, it's amazing to me that at the tomb, the first people to see the risen Christ, first people to encounter the risen Christ are the women. And they see this man who they don't know who he is. He looks like the gardener because the tomb is empty. The only thing left there are the grave cloths. And they say to this gardener, "Tell me where you've taken him." They wanted to finish preparing his body for burial because dead is dead, except in the case of Jesus. And Jesus then speaks Mary's name. And in the speaking of her name, she knows it's her friend, the beloved and risen Christ. The disciples, Peter and John, run to the tomb, and it's like a foot race. The beloved disciple, John, finishes first and goes in and sees the empty tomb, and it says that both he and Peter are seized with amazement because the fact that Christ is risen is too good to be true. Two disciples are walking to Emmaus. They encounter the risen Christ and are forever changed. Jesus appears to the disciples in the upper room, and they're changed. Now, Thomas is not there when he appears, so Thomas says it's not true. He doesn't believe it. He needs evidence. Maybe that's what we're looking for in our lives, evidence or proof. But when Jesus comes to see Thomas, he immediately knows who it is. It's obvious that this resurrected living Jesus is the Jesus that had walked the earth and taught the disciples and died for their and our sins, and who lives today, the resurrected living Christ. Thanks be to God, Jesus Christ is risen. He is risen indeed. Let me just say a couple things in closing. First, the resurrection means that nothing is impossible with God. There's always hope. There is always the possibility of personal, national, and worldwide transformation. Nothing's impossible for God. He has defeated even death itself. And we live in that in-between time between the resurrection of Christ and the full final culmination of history, when good triumphs and evil is completely defeated. So we know that it's coming, and we watch and wait for God's final victory. Secondly, across the globe there has been a rise in what we call anti-Semitism. And some of that has been associated with trying to blame Jewish people for the death of Jesus, trying to affix the blame, the reason. And I need to say to you, it's absolutely, totally, 100% wrong to blame anyone. Jesus Christ went to the cross and died there because he chose to. Because he was compelled to by his stance saying that he was God's son, and his threat to the political government of Rome and of that region, and also to the religious power. It wasn't any one people group's fault. Jesus died for all humanity. So in your thinking, don't try to blame a people group or a person or any ethnicity. It is for the human race that Jesus died. He died for all of us. Ted and I, as we sit here today to make this podcast, are as culpable in the death of Jesus as anyone. And in all honesty, you as you watch are as well. It's not anyone to blame. It's because God so loved the world that he gave his one and only Son, that whomsoever believeth in him shall not perish, but have everlasting life. And the third and final thing is this. I can think of no better day to come to faith in Jesus than Easter. You might be feeling like life doesn't have a lot of meaning or purpose. You might be hurting. Life might just be bad right now. It might be hard. I mean, the economy is tough and things out there are not easy, and you might be saying, when's it going to get better? When are things going to change? Place your hope in Jesus, in the resurrected, living Christ. You will not be disappointed. All you have to do is pray a prayer like this. Christ, I am a sinner. Come into my heart, forgive my sins, make me new and right. Help me to know that you love me. Forgive me of my sins, set me on a new course, and God will do all of that. Excuse me. And you and I can share in the power, the wonder, the glory, the love of Easter Sunday. So even though I'm a few days early, Ted, happy Easter. Blessed Holy Week to you and to everyone who watches. May God bless you and walk this last few days with Jesus. And then we'll begin something new following Easter. Have a great day.